All right, I got it rolling. My name is Aaron Rhodes, and you're listening to the Shuttlecock podcast. We're sponsored by the Vinyl Underground at Seventh Heaven, offering new and used vinyl at 76 and Troost in Kansas City. This week on the show, we have Mark Serrano. How you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good. Um, we've just been chatting about the storming of the U.S. Capitol right now. In case anyone is wondering when we're recording this,
Yeah,
just
it's what a time to be alive.
what a time! Just shout out Drake and Future. Um, but yeah, I guess where I usually start is I don't know. I like getting to know where my guests like kind of music uh, taste and like kind of history, like personal history with music is. So I guess like what kind of music were you listening to growing up and everything?
Yeah, so always been huge on hip hop since I was born. My family is from El Salvador. So my family escaped the civil war that was happening over there and they moved to California um in 92. And that was a crazy time as well. Um but the culture over there uh is is basically what you would see if you ever watched one of those old Too Short videos or E40 or old Snoop Dogg videos. And it was just lowriders, gangbangers, barbecues, cookouts, that kind of thing. So even when I was a baby, uh, I was listening to NWA, Ice Cube, Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, Cypress Hill. Like that was the influence. That was the music that I was raised on, um, from birth to up into my childhood, and that was my only like real understanding of music. Like everything else just didn't like make sense to me, and it was only that just like that very classic West Coast stuff until I branched out later on in high school and things like that.
Oh yeah, and it's like California is like kind of like you could kind of always argue that what's happening in California is like big and relevant within like pop music and in general, but like I think especially in like the 90s a lot of people like I don't know because like people in punk always talk about like, oh, I wish I was around in the early 80s to see like Black Flag and or in DC to see like Minor Threat. But I feel like that particular like part of time to be around in California for the hip hop that was coming out then must have been like I don't know, I see people like you probably I'm sure you talk to people that are like jealous that you got to kind of grow up like so close to that geographically.
Yeah, and even if I was born maybe 5 years before that, I could probably appreciate it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Just because I was an infant, just because I was a toddler or eight, growing up in that era, um, it was just what was normal, and I didn't think this was a moment. That never
Yeah.
occurred to me until later, and I was like, oh, all the music that I was listening to back then was the most impactful of a generation or of the culture or of just music in general.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, how long have you been in Kansas City then?
I've been in Kansas City for I want to say 4 years now,
Mm.
and prior to that, I was living in Atlanta, Georgia.
When did you end up moving from California to Georgia?
So it wasn't direct from California to Atlanta. I've lived just all over the United States. So there was some time in Seattle. There was some time in Columbia, Missouri. There was, I just had different stints in different cities at different times in my life, just due to various reasons. Um, but yeah, uh, Atlanta was very impactful for me in my development in the spectrum of hip hop.
No, yeah, that's another kind of like I feel like people are gonna look back or like are probably already looking back on like early tens Atlanta as a like a cultural kind of hotspot too, and even like it. I mean, I'm sure it's even grown since then, but to be there for like the kind of the like early. I mean, like the kind of like the blog era of trap is like,
Yeah.
I don't know, even just personally for me at least, I see that as kind of a, like, I don't know, I feel like even though trap music is still like super relevant, like I kind of see like the early tens as like kind of somewhat of a like golden era for that sound. I don't know
Yeah,
if you
totally.
feel that way.
Now that you mention it, I actually didn't realize that I was there for the birth of that really.
Mm,
Um, because when I moved to Atlanta, I was very into conscious hip hop. And if you weren't speaking on lyrical things like a Lupe Fiasco or Immortal Technique, I didn't think your value as an artist was relevant to me. At that time, I was very snobbish about it. And then I moved to Atlanta, and then the two guys that were big at that time were Gucci Man and Waka Flocka,
yeah.
and they aren't necessarily super conscious or lyrical rappers, but I got to feel that culture, and I got to understand the importance of it, and that whole trap movement, that whole wave. I really got to see the birth of it now that I look back at it, and how impactful it was, and it even converted me to a snob, to someone that was a little more open minded uh, to that, into that culture.
Mm.
Yeah.
Do you think I don't know, because I figure there's like I'm no expert on it myself, but I feel like there are parallels to be drawn between like early '90s like California gangster rap and then like the burgeoning kind of trap movement in like the late aughts and the early tens. Like,
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
was there like a particular moment or like a song or an album that really like made you open up to trap music when you were kind of witnessing that, or was it just kind of a slow thing over time?
It was the party, you know. Um you would go to one of these events and you are just packed like sardines in someone's mansion or a club, and it's just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people packed. And if it was just any Waka Flocka song or any Gucci Man song, the whole entire crowd would just sing in just like unison. It was really one of like the most amazing things you could have seen at that time. Like people were really feeling it. Um, and just for that moment, everyone was at peace
Mm,
until someone got their shoe stepped on, and then the fight had to break out. But at that time, I was just like, wow, this is like, okay, this is really impactful. This is moving something forward. These guys are letting off a message. And Atlanta and many cities across the United States are suffering. And one of those only ways to get out was, or unfortunately, the mindset is the only way to get out is to trap. That's how you survive. That's how you move. That's how you eat. That's how you get respect and get women in this world. And as destructive as it is a reality. So there's an art to that.
yeah. No, and were there was like live music something that was important to you, like getting into hip hop growing up and like becoming a fan of a lot of these artists, or are you most like, because you deal in down like recorded music on your on Mixtape Monkey, but yeah, like did live music ever have like a big impact on you?
I think I have a distaste for live music.
Yeah.
I've been friends with a lot of artists for a long time. And for me, I don't get to go in, pay the ticket, and enjoy the show and then leave. Um, I don't ever get to enjoy it like that. I'm always doing really awful errands that I think, even when I was a kid, I thought I was just above, but the show has to go on. So
Yeah.
whether it's me, having to fetch new mics because the mics broke, or running to get waters, or uh, having to find chargers for phones, or helping the staff set up or take down or break down, and just doing all those little things just because on a friendship level I wanted to help these artists succeed and to make their shows run smoothly. So yeah, it's more of a job for me
Yeah.
when I go to shows, unfortunately. um Yeah, so it's really hard for me to, and then even if I do go into a show now or before pandemic, I am critiquing everything. I'm like, okay, the soundboard, it just needs a different engineer completely,
Yeah,
or they need better mics, or the mix bad, or the way they handled the ticketing was really bad, or there's not enough security, or like, and I'm just looking at all these different things and I'm over analyzing everything and I
yeah,
just can never be in the moment. So recording music is kind of just where I have to like stay and enjoy as much as I can.
yeah. No, I yeah. It's kind of funny. Like if I like I don't know. I think live music has always been important to me, just because before I was like doing any like music adjacent work, I was like going to concerts when I was a teenager, and that's how I like became even more of a music fan than I was when I was younger. But it's like when you are forced to work in any capacity around live music, it can be kind of like hard to disengage and kind of just like be in the moment and
Yeah,
appreciate
totally.
the music. Like, and like I'm even just talking about like, like punk shows where there's like a few dozen to maybe 100 people there, but like I'm still like, doing the door or like just running around, yeah, doing like errands and stuff. But yeah, so I definitely understand when like that live music may not be as impactful if you're put in those circumstances.
Yeah, and I also hate studio life, um, where artists will want me to almost A&R or curate their sound through the whole process of recording their album, and I'm not doing anything but saying yes or no because I'm not an engineer.
Mm.
It becomes tedious where you just have to hear a guy punch in his verse a dozen, 2 dozen times over to get it right, and that process becomes really tedious because I'm not really hands on with it, and I'm just giving the yes or no. Uh, so that is also a thing that I just no longer do. It's just I don't go to people's recordings, and I usually avoid shows unless they're really small and intimate, and I don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
Like if I can just get a drink and enjoy the show, that's the only circumstance you're really going to catch me at. Other than that, everything else feels like work, and I prefer to keep the feeling of work away from the music because that is really detrimental, and it's a hole that I've fallen into a couple times when you are a curator or someone that's trying to push artists into a better direction.
I guess we can work our way to how you got into the work that you do, because you created the website Mixtape Monkey, and
Hmm.
it's kind of like a digital mixtape website, and you've been running it since 2011.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah. So and you dealt with like the web design and figuring out what music gets put on there, but you also did the graphic design and everything for
Yes,
it.
everything 100% me.
Oh yeah. So how did you first become interested in like web design and graphic design?
Right. So it's a slow evolution over the course of my childhood. It first became sketching, and I got really into sketching. And that slowly evolved into graphic design, where I wanted to see my artwork in some of the things that I enjoyed, like video games or album covers or things like that. And that's where it slowly built up. And then MySpace came out, and that was like the coolest thing ever at the time. And I wanted to customize my website, but I didn't know how. So I basically reverse engineered the templates that those MySpace generators would give you, so I can edit my own things. Then I started charging people. Then Tumblr came out, and then I started charging people for Tumblr pages, and then I just slowly built up into that early 2009, 10, 11 era. And then I figured it was time for me to build a masterpiece. You know, I was a really crappy designer back then, but in my head I was like, I've mastered enough where I can present to the world with a real.com. Um, and it was going to be called mixtapejunkie.com, and the logo was horrendous. It was a guy injecting music into his forearm, and that's just like, I was like, yeah, okay. Now that I look back, it's like, wow, my childhood was really fucked up. Where I thought that was like a cool thing to do. um,
I,
yeah. So,
sounds like a cool
um,
logo, actually.
yeah, it was
Would love
cool.
to see an early rendering of that.
Ooh, I'm sure that's been destroyed at some point. And someone bought the domain name, and I was like, okay, well, I can't have that. So I'm sitting there and I'm just thinking, and then Monkey just kind of clicked with me. Um, I was born in '92. You're the monkey. My favorite cartoon characters were monkeys. Essentially, it was Goku from Dragon Ball. He was a monkey boy. It was Curious George when I was a baby. He was just this little monkey just trying to run around the city and figure out what's up. So I was like, all right, I can resonate with that. So put it together. I dropped the first build, and that night I got 137 downloads, and it kind of just propelled from there. But there was many reasons why I built that specific site.
Oh yeah, and before we move more into that, I did. You talked about wanting to do designs for album covers and video games and stuff. Did you ever get like any cool placements that like before you were doing the website or even after you're doing it?
I was doing some mixtape covers for some local artists back in the day, but none of them ever like made it big. So I'm sure all those designs are buried somewhere in the internet. And as far as video games, no, I never really got to interact with the people that build video games, unfortunately.
Mm.
Um, but that is still something that's like on my bucket list. And hopefully that's something that I get to do one day, is contribute assets or into the build of a video game.
Yeah. Yeah. So what were some of the first like mixtapes that you were uploading to the website, and like what got a lot of like clicks early on?
Right. So the site of collecting mixtapes is definitely not an original idea, because there was DatPiff and live mixtapes at the time. But there was this really edgy group back in the day called Odd Future Wolfgang Kill Them All, and I was hooked on their music. It was it really had a hold on me. It was, now I look back, it was very uh, just counterculture,
Yeah.
and I was just so with that vibe. It was just, fuck all the rules, just do whatever you want. We're young, we just do our thing, and we just cause problems because fuck it.
Yeah.
And that was that was really fun and exciting at that time. So their Tumblr page is where you could download all their mixtapes, but the problem with that is that their Tumblr page sucked. Design wise, it sucked. The links only halfway worked, and then they were all spread across different platforms. So some of them had Hulk share links, some of them had Mediafire links, some of them were like DatPiff's links, and I think those were just backups of backups. So like it was hard to narrow down these original file sizes, or these original MP3s. And I was just like, man, why doesn't any website just have all these mixtapes available? When
Yeah.
I type in Odd Future, I want to see all the Odd Future mixtapes. And it got to the point where I was like, I'll just do it myself. And that's where kind of Mixtape Monkey came into play, or well, the reason why I built it. So I scoured the internet for months, just looking for these really rare mixtapes. And sometimes you download them, and then it's like missing track 4, and you're just like, fuck. Okay, I have to go like find it. So I eventually collected them all to the best of my knowledge, and I posted them. And those were early bets in the catalog, or the collection of Mixtape Monkey, that helped it grow to what it was, to what it is today.
Mm. Oh yeah, and I was looking at your YouTube channel earlier too, and like I scrolled down to like some of the earliest uploads on there, and I
Oh
think there's
god,
like
yeah.
an early like Earl mixtape that you uploaded, and some
Yeah.
classic tracks on there.
Yeah, I had
Um,
really bad logo assets back then too.
but no, yeah, I guess I think anyone who knows me knows that I was a big Odd Future fan when they came out, and like yeah, I think you're right that did a lot, like they appealed to a lot of countercultural, like, and in that sense, kind of a punk rock like kind of aesthetic and
Yeah.
energy. So that's what I liked about him, since that's kind of the music I was into first. So what was there any like specific Odd Future stuff that like struck you early, or did you kind of just get into it kind of slowly?
Yeah. So I remember seeing Tyler Creator's French music video. It's really bad if you go back, but I was just like, the way he just started off the song was just like, whoa, like, this guy is just like out of control. Um, and then I watched the Earl video,
Yeah,
and that blew my mind. And then it was just that thing where everyone's on Reddit forums and we're trying to figure out, like, is it real? What are they mixing into this
yeah,
potion that they made that just made them wild out? Did Earl's nipples really bleed?
yeah,
like, what was really happening? Did Tyler Creator have that seizure, or was he faking it? It was just like, we're just trying to figure it out. And then they ended with fuck Steve Harvey, and you're like, okay, well, what the fuck did Steve Harvey do?
yeah,
So we're just like trying to figure out and trying to decipher what's going on with these kids. Why do they hate Steve Harvey? Why do they hate Two Dope Boys? Where's all this beef and where all this anger is coming from?
yeah,
And it was just so addictive. You just, it was like a
yeah.
magnet. I couldn't get enough of that shit.
No, yeah, they always kind of had their own like kind of whole like mythology and like Odd Future universe, just since you have like so many people involved, and they had all these kind of what seemed like really random like
Yeah.
catchphrases and like stuff in their videos and stuff. Like, and yeah, like the Earl video and the Yonkers video were like probably the two first
Oh
things
yeah.
I came across and was really like excited about.
And then
Um,
Tyler had like these multiple personalities where he
yeah,
was Tyler the Creator, Ace the Creator, Wolf Haley,
yeah,
and we don't know if these were combinations of guys or this was a different guy or he's just going through different names.
yeah,
And even went to DJ Stank Daddy for a little bit. That was a fun time. So yeah, it was just like, I was just such a huge fan, and I just wanted everyone else to just find an easier place to download all those things, um, because they made it really difficult, unfortunately.
uh, so I wanted to ask about how, like you mentioned that like some of those early Odd Future tapes were important to building the website, but did like was there anything in specific you were doing? I mean, besides building like this kind of collection of like cool and kind of rare mixtapes, like was there anything you were like really actively doing besides that to like bring in a new audience or like kind of market the website? Because it I feel like it did grow relatively quickly for something that was kind of an independent thing.
Yeah. So there was no marketing dollars ever involved in this. And everything was just built off really good SEO. And that was just from me being a very diligent programmer, hardly a programmer these days, but I was really diligent and just making sure I tagged everything correctly, did everything by Google standards, things like that. Then it was collecting whole collections of mixtapes, and that was kind of like my big push on social media. Was like, you get all the Odd Future here, you get all the Lupe Fiasco here, you get all the Royce da 5'9" tapes here, you get all the Mickey Fax mixtapes here. Like, I wanted you to find it all
Yeah,
here, and I'm gonna make it easy too. So I was the first website out of all the mixtapes to do one-click download. So if you go to Mixtape Monkey now, there are no logins, there are no signups. It's completely free. You go in, hit download, you have it. You're not watching a video. You're not being, I mean, you're probably being hit with more ads than I'm comfortable with, but that's just one of those things that keep the websites up. But comparatively, this is the easiest way to download those tapes.
yeah.
So
No,
that
and
was like the big push.
oh yeah, and I guess something that's always kind of plagued like just like MP3 music in general has been kind of the constant kind of weird threat of like copyright violations and stuff. Is that something that you dealt with a lot early on or managed to evade, and like how has that kind of changed over the years of running the site?
Yeah, early on it wasn't a problem.
Mhm.
I think it was just because I was so small and there was just bigger fish in the sea. But as I grew to a couple million views a month, I definitely got a lot of emails from a lot of labels and a lot of uh, government official letters or whatever it is. Um, and it was difficult, and I kind of had to learn the law the hard way. I was never taken down. I did lose some potential. Well, not potential. I'd lost a couple servers. So basically, a website has to be hosted on a server for it to be distributed for everyone to look it up. So unfortunately, I've been kicked out of a lot of servers because of that. Um, and now with the new server, they're a little bit more understanding with my circumstance um, and how flexible I am with it. So, for example, let's say you're a fan of an artist and he dropped a bunch of mixtapes before he was signed. He let them for free. Everything's good. Got millions of downloads. Now he's signed. Sometimes the label will purchase those recordings, and those will now be copyrighted under that label. So the label will come back and hit me with a copyright and like, hey, this is what you're doing. This is a takedown notice. If you don't take it down, we'll shut you down, or we'll go to law, or we'll lawyer up, or whatever it is.
Mm.
And then I would have to reply like, well, I was given this mixtape to distribute for free. And I'd have to battle them on that. But now we have a good understanding, me and most of the labels, to where when that does happen, I don't take it down. I just replace it with a title embed and a title download, which isn't as nice for some people because you'll have to pay for those services.
Yeah.
But it is a way for me to promote that album still and for them to get paid off of it and for them the label to recoup on their earnings or their investment. So that's kind of the dance that we're doing now. Um, so if I step out of line, we just have a discussion, we fix it, we move forward. Um, yeah, I've been kind of lucky with it because earlier in the '90s, people were getting raided for that shit.
Yeah. Oh
So
yeah, and I think I think I watched the hip hop evolution thing on Netflix, and I remember there's the whole episode, or like part of one episode talks about like a government raid on like DJ Drama's
yeah,
like mixtape like collection and all that. So yeah,
yeah,
glad to hear that it's not been hugely an issue for you.
yeah, yeah, because things like that kind of laid out the foundation for what me and Dat Piff and Live Mixtapes does. Um, so basically, the idea is that we're not selling the music; it is free for promotional use only, and and yeah, we don't actually sell. So I'm not in the business of selling uh, that. I'm in the business of selling advertising space.
Yeah.
So Mixtape Monkey makes money through ads on the website, and we just happen to host free mixtapes there.
Mm. Oh, yeah, something that I thought was kind of interesting is that I think in like one of the Startland articles that was written about Mixtape Monkey, you mentioned that you actually have grown kind of a large following like of users from Africa, and like so
Yeah.
you've kind of got into distributing like posting like some more like kind of regional African artists over the years?
I have a little bit,
Mm,
but they're mostly obsessed with American artists,
yeah,
and that was just one of those weird things. I think other websites are probably making the barrier a little bit too difficult for these emerging companies or these emerging countries.
mm,
Um, but my site's super easy to use. So, uh, yeah, Nigeria and South Africa, especially, are going through this consumption of American hip hop, and they're really huge fans. I mean, they're crazy about this stuff. Um, to the point where even Crystal with the KH, local rapper in Kansas City,
yeah,
when she posted her mixtape on Mixtape Monkey, she saw about 5,000 downloads on her first mixtape relatively quickly, and it was all from South Africa.
Hmm.
And it was just one of those weird things that kind of blew my mind. I was like, wow, I knew this was kind of worldwide, but I didn't know I could introduce new artists to different countries in that kind of way. And I kind of want to build upon that. I'm still trying to figure out how, but um, I think that's where the value long term for Mixtape Monkey is where I can get an artist that has 0 fans and give them 10,000 fans in a different country. And I think there would be a lot of value in that, if they decide to sign with a label or not.
Yeah, so hopefully after the pandemic, Crystal can go tour to South Africa and be greeted with thousands of fans. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah. That I mean, if I could break an artist like that, that'd be great. Uh, yeah. The goals and ambitions for Mixtape Monkey keeps getting pushed over and over because at the very beginning of it, it was just a fan site. I was happy to get 1,000 download, like 1,000 users on my. I was like, whoa, this mind blowing. And the fact that I can make it into a career and it's something that I can do for full time living, um, I mean, it's beyond expectations.
Oh, yeah, and something I meant to ask when we were talking about the early Odd Future stuff is like, yeah, what did you have any other like big favorites like kind of back in the early tens, like when the site was just starting and stuff that you were excited to have on there? You mentioned Lupe
Yeah,
Fiasco. You're a big
yeah.
fan.
Lupe was there, Royce, Mickey Fax. I got into Future a lot. The Cool Kids, especially. Those are love the Cool Kids so much.
Mm.
Um, let's see. I was one of the first sites to put up Chance the Rapper tapes. That was that was a huge thing, because I met him during the 10-day tour,
Oh, nice.
and he did a performance with in front of like maybe 20 people,
Huh. Where's that?
and yeah, it was at the Blue Note in Columbia, Missouri.
Nice.
And I think I was just visiting Columbia from Atlanta, because I have family up there. And I was like, yeah, let's check out this Chance the Rapper guy. He's from Chicago. Should be cool. No one shows up. Essentially, he performs. He's having a blast. He's performing like there's a million people there, and he has like these water bottles, and he's just like flicking into the audience, trying to like hype us up. Uh, One of the guys I was with was really pissed because he brought a really expensive camera, so he wasn't too pleased about that. But yeah, I saw it and I was like, wow, okay. I really like the music. I really like the content. I looked them up. I liked the videos. So I was like, all right, I'll just post them. And then within a year turnaround, he sold out an auditorium in that same city. So that was like a really good that was a really good bet I put on someone early.
Mm.
It was Chance the Rapper, artists like Tinashe when she was doing mixtapes in her basement or whatever it was. Uh, God, there's just so many artists. I mean,
Yeah.
up until this point, I think we have about 400 different artists posted right now.
Mm.
So
And I don't know, kind of to move into some of the work you're doing right now on the website and the app you just launched. Um, I think I may have used this term earlier, but do you resent at all or like are bothered by like people talking about like the blog era or the mixtape era, like it's a like kind of like painting it as like just kind of a like a bygone thing that isn't like really relevant right now. I don't know, dude.
yeah, I get that. But things come in and out of relevance. I mean, there was a
Mm.
time where we thought the labels were gonna die, and now they're stronger than ever.
Yep.
Um, and even mixtapes, they've died a couple times. It was cassettes being passed out, that died down. Then it became CDs, that died out. There was USBs for like 4 days, that definitely died down. It was the websites, those coming in and out. I mean, it's it's hard to say. I think the biggest thing is to move forward and to evolve it. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do with the app. Um, I think the biggest thing that holds all of us back is the fact that we're separate websites with different catalogs and we just pretend we don't exist to each other. And I kind of hope that this app, because it's not really an app, it's more of a tool. And it basically brings back old school file sharing down to your iPhone and letting someone download a zip file and enjoy MP3s without the mess. And yeah, it's something that you can use on DatPiff or Spinrilla or whatever website. Something you can use off a Dropbox link. Doesn't matter. I don't really care where you get your music from. It's the fact that you find it and enjoy it, and it's relatively easy.
Oh yeah. So the app is called Tape Eater. You
Yeah,
launched it last month,
yeah,
uh,
December 19th.
and it's on the App Store on iPhones. Is it Android right now or just?
It's not Android. It's and the Android will come. I'm trying to get it done by summer,
Mhm.
but it just depends on the performance on iOS. Because I'm not the only one that's doing development or design on this.
Mm.
I'm getting a bunch of people and I'm contracting, so there are costs involved. And if it doesn't make sense, I can't keep putting my savings at risk for this because I am putting my savings at risk for this. It's something that I believe in. I think it's a useful tool. Um, and it's just one of those things as an entrepreneur, you just got to risk it. And even if it doesn't make money, I think I legitimately think it's a very helpful tool if you are trying to collect these old records that you cannot find on Spotify, you cannot find uh, on the Apple Music Store or Tidal or whatever it is. These are rare projects that just won't ever get those samples cleared.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So you kind of explained it already, but the app is basically a tool that, so like if you are on your phone or your tablet, you can go to Mixtape Monkey or other mixtape websites, download the zip the zip folders that have all these mixtape songs on them, and
Mm-hmm.
the app, when you select the zip folder in the app, will unzip it, and you can listen to and kind of organize the songs from those mixtapes in one.
Yeah, it's supposed to self-organize.
Mm.
And I'm even trying. I mean, currently it's at like 4 steps, and I'm trying to get it down to like two. Um, but Apple is really difficult with this type of stuff and file sharing and file management.
Yeah.
They're really particular on what you can and cannot do in their ecosystem, which I get. That's what makes them Apple. But yeah, it is. I mean, before this, you really couldn't do it, and if you really wanted to, you would have to download Spinrilla, Dapiv, and all these other streaming apps for mixtapes, and then kind of just go back and forth between these different catalogs. And I don't want people to be restricted with that. And also, if you have a library of music in your old hard drive or something, it's something you can easily import over to the app and just listen to all your old favorites from there too. So,
Yeah.
like, you don't even have to use mixtape websites. You can use your old catalog. You can use that thumb drive that you had since you were in high school,
Yeah.
um, to move all those files over. So,
Yeah, no, and it's kind of like you're basically trying to solve the problem of collecting mixtapes in an age where people are doing most things on their phone and they're not stopping to like plug their phone or their iPod or whatever into their
right.
computer and transfer over all the music. You want to get to somewhere where you can store it all physically on your phone, but use this app to collect it.
Yeah. And I don't know if that was a big problem with the No Ceilings 3 mixtape drop. Because I don't think that hit Spotify, did it?
I'm not sure. I haven't looked for it on there.
Because I'm pretty sure it was just released on DatPiff for a little bit, and then all the other sites got it. But I
Mm.
don't know if Spotify or Tidal ever got that project. And if it's something that you wanted to hear, if you're a diehard Lil Wayne fan,
Yeah.
I want that to be an easier experience for you. I mean, some people don't have laptops. That's a reality.
Yeah.
Some people only have the phone, and if that's all you have, this is a very easy way to just consume that music.
Yeah. No, and it is kind of funny. I think I qualify as either like the oldest member of Gen Z or the youngest member of the millennial generation. I just turned 24, but
Oh shit.
yeah. So it's kind of funny because like basically everyone younger than me has never has either had very little or no experience with MP3s and file sharing. They've kind of basically just known YouTube and mixtape sites. I mean YouTube and streaming sites for pretty much their entire adult life. So, have you interacted much with like people like my age and younger who like don't have a lot of any or little experience with file sharing, and kind of talk to them about what you're working on?
Yeah, so I have a few cousins and just like a couple kids that I've seen around the block, and they're essentially teenagers,
Yeah.
and they're going through their own phase of music, whatever that is looking like. But yeah, they definitely don't know what the hell I'm doing or what the hell I'm talking about, and it's so beyond them. But once I show them how it works, they're like, "Oh, Lil Uzi has mixtapes that I've never heard of before." I'm like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
now you see the value in this because you can't get that on Apple Music." And then like, "Oh, yeah, my older brother liked Lil Wayne a lot," and then I could show him that catalog. And this is one of those things that if the young adult was fascinated enough with these artists, there is a viable way for them to discover music back then.
Yeah.
Because as much as Spotify does that for some of the music in the 80s and the 70s and the 90s, there is this little gray area where music wasn't being posted through the labels.
Yeah.
So at least in hip hop.
Yeah, no, I guess I kind of see that. I'm sure you realize this, but like that is kind of your whole battle in making this app successful, is just like explaining and showing like younger listeners that there is like so much of some of these artist catalogs that you are missing out on just by strictly using streaming.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for a young Future fan right now, if all you think was Mask Off, and then after that,
Yeah,
then you're missing out on a lot of Future, or you're
a lot
missing
of
out on a
crucial
lot of
feature,
yeah, a lot of crucial Future. Even if it's just like old school NBA young boy, like not all of his stuff's on Spotify right now.
yeah.
So if that's someone that you listen to for whatever reason, yeah, you can.
I'm a fan, Mark.
Um, he definitely has hits. He definitely has hits. Is just going. So I'm old school where I listen to full albums,
Yeah,
and that's something that kids don't do apparently. So, um, it's it's a weird conflict. I kind of want to bring that. If I could somehow bring back full albums to the youth, that'd be great. Because every kid I talk to is just like, "Oh, I just like the songs that I like, and I put them in a playlist." And I'm like, "There's just so many good full length albums. If you just sat there and go A to Z, your life would change."
yeah.
But
No, and I definitely like I grew up kind of an album guy, also like a full project guy. Um, and what was I gonna say? Yeah, no, it's kind of um, the only, and it's funny, like the only people younger than me that are fully like album people are just like very committed music nerds that like
yeah,
either watch like Needle Drop or whatever, or are like very involved in like indie or like punk music, where like people are still like putting out records, and like it's kind of like that older system of music distribution hasn't fully kind of crumbled yet. But yeah, no, um it's like people are a little, I feel like people in music media are like, even though it seems inevitable that mainstream music just moves to like singles as a primary
Yeah.
thing. Like I don't know. I hope I don't want to come off as like a reactionary in any way, because like yeah, it's interesting and exciting to see where like the music business goes and the way people listen to music. That's interesting to me, but like I do like feel like I want to evangelize the album as like a just an art form in itself, like a just a way to consume things. Because I don't know, it's like maybe the only albums that are put out really will become just like those just kind of strictly concept albums, you know, where like you need multiple songs to tell a story or get across a point.
Yeah.
But I still see it as a very fun and important medium.
Yeah, I don't think that's something that's gonna die, and I don't think good album art's gonna die. I don't think making a good track list is gonna die, or just like additional art. Because I mean, you see behind me, I have all these vinyls, and even in there, there's inserts, there's additional images, there's just other things that really make that package. And sure, let's say there's a 1% hipster class of music nerd that only gets to enjoy that. That's fine, I guess. I mean, yeah, at some point everything's gonna go streaming, and that's fine. But there's still the physical, there's still the mixtape, there's still that old feeling that we're never really gonna shake. I mean, if you look at the numbers now, vinyl's going up.
Yep.
More vinyl's being pressed now than it was maybe 10 years ago. So um I think there's it might yeah, it's not as big as the full crowd or the full populace, but there is dedicated music nerds that will enjoy that. And for me to build an app for them, I'm more than happy or more than pleased, more than fulfilled to be a part of that system.
No, yeah, that makes me want to ask you though. I'm sure you have like this giant MP3 collection, but
Massive.
yeah, no, yeah. Do you have like a number of like terabytes or whatever? Like, do you know exactly how much you have?
It's a couple terabytes.
Yeah,
Which to me doesn't sound like a lot, but for other people they're just it's
it's a
unfathomable.
casual music fan. That's a lot.
Yeah, for a casual music fan, it's a lot. And a lot of it's synced into my because before this I was syncing everything to my Apple Music.
Mm,
So if you see the sidebar, it's like microscopic, and you can just drag that thing
yeah,
forever, and there's always going to be another album. um, yeah, and it's just funny to see people's reaction, like, "Oh my god, how did you even listen to all of this stuff? How could you even?" Um, but yeah, it's a collection that I'm proud of, and
yeah.
even with my vinyl and my CD collection, I mean, it's I have a lot. I have a lot. So yeah, it's definitely a few terabytes. I think Mixtape Monkey has maybe 200 gigs of MP3s ready to go any moment.
Nice.
So, and that always changes depending on who gets signed and who doesn't. So,
Um, no, yeah, it's funny. It's something I feel kind of like proud of. Is that since I like I was I was very interested. Like I got into hip hop like basically with Odd Future, and kind of have followed it closely since the early
mhm.
tens. And then also like the same thing with punk music. So I was on just like a dozen different like hip hop and punk blogs, like downloading new EPs and mixtapes and albums every week, and kind of building an MP3 collection that way. But I feel like I love having a lot of those files that are kind of hard to find at this point. But I
Oh
feel
yeah.
particularly proud of having taught my younger brother to basically do the same thing. And like I don't know another 20-year-old who has as large of a MP3 collection as he does, because anything he's like vaguely interested in, he'll download the whole album and yeah, he has a couple hard drives of stuff at this point. So
Nice. Yeah, I'm actually a bad influence on my little brothers. I have a I think he's 12 right now. I have a 12-year-old listening to Big L. So
nice.
I'm very proud of that.
No, yeah, no. I also wanted to ask how. Yeah, you mentioned having CDs and vinyl too. How big are those collections of yours?
Well, my vinyl just went down a lot. Um, I have another cousin. She's growing up, and she has become a Prince and Michael Jackson stan. Like I've never seen since early '90s. Honestly, like
Mm.
that woman is obsessed. And she just got into vinyls, so I just gave her the collection. I was like, you know what? I just got to pass it down. The next generation needs to appreciate it. So
No, it's kind of you.
all I have is the vinyls up on the wall and maybe a couple over there, some of
Mm.
the old school hip hop stuff. But yeah, my collection's gone now.
What,
But
what's the CD situation like?
CD collection, they just keep getting, they keep going missing. But yeah, I have about like 20 or 30 CDs just laying around.
Okay, yeah, so that's all
Um,
pretty just casual listening stuff.
yeah, it's casual. But the collection is definitely in the hard drive,
Mm.
and that's where it'll remain safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's uh that's for me personally.
Mm.
Um, I do want to get my vinyl game up, um, and I might just with your sponsor. So
Oh yeah, the Vinyl Underground at Seventh Heaven. Good people down there. Shout out to Sherman. They have quite the collection you can dig through. Um, no, yeah. Something I really want to interview. I don't know his name yet. I'm sure somebody's told me, or I can find it easily enough. But have you ever run into the guy that does kcmixtapes.com?
no, I have not run into that guy. There's a KC mixtapes guy and there's a Midwest mixtapes guy,
Mm.
and they're kind of just really low key, and I can't really. I haven't searched that hard either, but when I've tried to look them up, I can't seem to figure out who these people are or if they're still active or if they're still doing things.
Mm.
Um, but at the same time, it's just like there's only so much reaching out that I feel like I need to do, because there's a lot of people I need to reach out to.
Yeah.
Because there's a couple other mixtape websites that are like under me, and I'm having frequent communications with them on just how to run and operate it. So it's there's more active people that want my attention more, so I'll just give it to them. Um, but I am open to like talking to those people or passing on that contact if I get it. But
Yeah,
it's just one of those things.
I think maybe one of my next pandemic projects. I just I only have like maybe 100-ish CDs, but I did finally just organize all of those on my Discogs account and figure out what exact like pressing and like I kind of figured out what some of the more like rare CDs I have are. But I feel like next up I need to because the KC mixtape tape site it's kind of weird and like just how it's like it's kind of an old school layout, but I'm pretty sure like at least with a few rappers and I'm sure even more than I even know about, like that's like the only place I can find a lot of stuff because like I was looking for like I wanted to listen to like early stuff from this guy Clark. I don't know if you know about him, but he's been putting out
And
stuff for
I
like
know a
5-10 years.
Clark in Kansas City. I don't know if it's the Clark that you're talking about.
Oh yeah, it's Clark with an E at the end. He's gone by Clark, but also CB.
Because there's a
Um,
Clark Roosevelt running
yeah,
around, and he has a couple of mixtapes.
yeah, but yeah, I think my next project might have to be just downloading every mixtape from Casey mixtapes that I'm interested in and making sure those are not lost anywhere. And I'm
Yeah,
sure that guy has plenty of interesting kind of KC rap history to talk about.
yeah, for sure. And honestly, if he's not working on that website anymore, I don't mind absorbing that collection. Because if it is something that he isn't working on, then it would be important to preserve that collection. And that's also kind of where my website lies. Different from AdaptPiff or Spinrilla, where you can just upload your mixtape, and that's cool and that's needed and that's very important. But mine's more of a collection-based archive.
Yeah, it's kind of a curated thing.
Yeah. So, and that's something that I do all by hand, which is quite tedious at times, but um, I like that personal touch. I like making sure all the meta tags are properly labeled and things like that. Just really, really huge music nerd stuff that I take extra careful time with.
Yeah, any true music nerd has at least a bit of a stomach for tedious activities like just organizing and stuff like that. And some like besides the fact that Mixtape Monkey is more it's kind of closely curated and like the layout's very clean and easy to use. One thing I appreciated when I was looking through it recently is that you can actually just click by year and see all of the mixtapes that came out that year. And like, I'm pretty certain you can't do that on DatPiff or Live Mixtapes.
You cannot do that anywhere else.
So that's like, if you want to, like, you can, if you have the time and the motivation, you can educate yourself fairly well on what happened in each year of hip hop just by looking at the website and downloading and listening to stuff on there. So that's something I'm also a fan of.
I used to have a really cool feature where it organized artists by the label that they were signed to, but that got so chaotic.
Yeah,
because labels get broken up and then they get signed to another label, and then it's like, do I move that mixtape to that label or do I move it to this label?
Yeah, and it's kind of like at this point, like most labels that are major labels or are owned by major labels, like there's not really much of a brand anymore, really. Like you can't who's to say like if like Travis Scott doesn't sound more like a Sony artist than a Universal artist. It's kind of just like,
oh no, I
arbitrary.
did it to the sub label,
yeah,
which was even scarier. So it was just like 1017.
Yeah.
All right, 1017 broke up. So where does Waka Flocka go? Where does Gucci Mane go?
Yeah,
and then they got back together.
Yeah, one of the only really distinct like imprints right now is like Alamo, because they've been signing like all of the kind of like SoundCloud party rap type stuff, but beyond maybe 2 or 3 imprints, like in 2020 it doesn't really
it doesn't matter
what label you're on.
And a lot of people are going independent, so it's just one of those things. Right now I've been toying with this idea for like 5 years. It's genres. Do we need genres, yes or no? That's a question for you.
Just in the way you organize music on a platform.
Well, I run a hip hop website, and everything that I label is hip hop or R&B.
Yeah.
Do I need my genres, yes or no?
I mean, I would appreciate having the option to click one or the other, and just because I mean I'm not as well versed in R&B as I am hip hop, so yeah, maybe if I want to click what happened in 2012 R&B, maybe be able to select each of those. Like, I don't think it's like a thing that anybody desperately needs, but if you have the time to build out something like that, I'm sure someone would appreciate it.
Yeah, so turn it off or on, or do a tagging system. This might not even be something that you might want for the podcast, but it's super nerdy. Basically, hip hop has a huge spectrum, from trap to conscious to lyrical to emo rap to all that. So do I go back and label my 3,000 album collection to subgenres to make it easier for people to find something that's a little more like an XXXTentacion, or make a sub label for someone that's trying to listen to let's see, someone like a Lecrae.
I want to do a Christian rap deep dive.
yeah is that something is that something that I need to do, and I debate if I want to stomach that task, because going back and listening to everything and finding a label for it. And then some of them would have to have multiple labels because some of them are R&B, rap, trap. Some of them are lyrical and party music. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if that's something that I want to take on, but it's an idea that I'm toying with. And
Yeah, no, I think every kind of music platform or someone even with a private like collection always kind of is trying to figure out how to best organize things and make it easy to browse. So it's
yeah.
I'm sure those type of things do kind of rattle around in your head plenty.
And where do I put Drake?
Drake is everywhere.
Drake is
Drake
everywhere,
is
right?
everything, except maybe Christian.
He got some
He's
Christian
got
bars
God's
here and
he's
there.
got God's plan. No, yeah. So I was looking at the YouTube page, and like you have a little tutorial about how to use Tape Eater,
Yes.
and then you also have some music, some mixtapes on there that you just wanted to upload to YouTube. But you also have a couple, like, was it just like one song live sessions you did with Crystal and Macy?
Yeah. So that was back when I was doing the podcast party. It was a big project that I was doing with a couple of podcasters from Kansas City. And basically we would every month we would have one weekend set out and we would record as many podcasts from as many different podcasters in the city all in one weekend. And we had this huge place, and one room would have a podcast going, another room would have a podcast going, another room would have a podcast going. And then I was in charge of kind of handling the music situation because at the end of it, every night we would have 3 or 4 bands or artists come in and perform. We have a few more videos. I think I have one of Ivy Roots somewhere floating around. But yeah, basically we would all, and it was like an open bar situation too, so you can get as fucked up as you wanted and just hit record all day. So
We're
there's
all,
like a
we're all
lot of
missing
day
it.
drink. It was a really cool project. We didn't have a way to monetize it or sustain the space. So unfortunately, it is a project that had to die. Um, but yeah, so those are some of the live performances from them. The YouTube is definitely mangled because I just have a bunch of different content, and I'm trying to find something more consistent that I can do, whether that is a podcast or just post more music videos or mixtapes.
Mm.
It's just what can I do without being or putting my channel at risk.
Yeah. Okay, so you have you mentioned Ivy Roots, and you have stuff you've done with Crystal and Macy. So no, and I remember you came out to the show I helped out with Crystal, and yeah, Macy was there too, I think. That
Yes.
the fundraiser show we did, that was a lot of fun. Are there any other Kansas City artists that you're really excited about right now?
Yeah. So right now I'm working closely with Irv the Phenom. He's converted his name from Nowadays back to Irv the Phenom recently.
Hmm?
Working closely with him. Working closely with Nick Danger. Working closely with a new singer, Jazz. She's recently
Oh yeah.
dropped an EP. Yeah, it's an EP. So that's actually on the homepage of Mixtape Monkey right now.
Yeah, it's called At the Close of a Decade.
Something like that. Yeah, at the end of a decade, or yeah, something like that.
Hmm.
So that's an artist that I'm really, really starting to enjoy. And there's a few artists that I need to still kind of discover and learn about. I just ran into, was it Slap City? Is that his name?
Yeah, that's I'm not too familiar with him, but I've heard of him. He has
Yeah.
some
So I
stuff with Ray
ran.
Money.
Yeah. So I ran into this guy recently, and it's just like, okay, there's a lot of buzz about him in certain pockets of Kansas City, so that's someone that I need to discover. Um, and it's just that juggling thing that I'm doing, where I'm playing with new features that may or may never show up on Mixtape Monkey, posting new music, looking at new videos, marketing myself, building the app, accounting, unfortunately,
Yeah.
and trying to find a personal life and trying to maintain relationships with these artists.
Familiar with the juggling act of
Ooh.
running a one man music app operation. So
Yeah, it's a headache, and there's so many things I want to do. I want to get into live performances. I want I want to even build another platform that actually pays artists what they deserve.
Mm.
Um, and I've reached out to other mixtape sites and even Bandcamp to make that happen, but no one wants to hear me until, I don't know, just no one wants to hear me or what I have to say, unfortunately, in that world. So in the meantime, keep building the cool features, keep building the pathway for artists, and just making music discovery organic still,
Yeah.
because it has definitely been taken over by algorithms and labels.
Yeah.
And it's really sad to see.
Mm. Did what? Can you talk at all about the specific ideas you had for this other monetized platform?
Yeah, I mean, if anyone can execute the idea, they can have it. But yeah, I basically wanted to build a union for artists. Um, and then so I would get all the independent artists and all the artists that are currently signed somehow get out of their deals. Everyone go unsigned, hold off for making music for a while, release a new streaming platform, and charge it. Let's say the number is $20 a month, and this app would take $5 a month and then spread the 15 amongst the artists. And I think that business model is a little bit more scalable than what Spotify is doing. And if we're not including the labels, um, which you could include at some point, but the problem with Spotify is that the label's taking all the royalties and giving none of it to the artists.
Yeah.
So if we can cut the pie a little more fairly, that'd be great. And then redistribute the music not off per stream, but per attention per user. So if you spend your $20 a month and then all you listen to is Crystal Rose, then all the proceeds that aren't going towards the expenses of maintaining the company go to Crystal Rose.
Yeah.
And if you listen to Drake and Crystal Rose, then that $15 gets split. Half goes to Drake, half goes to Crystal Rose. Or if you got a really wide variety of artists, it gets distributed evenly. And even then, there's problems with that model, but there is a way, a more fair way to do this. And Spotify is currently seeing a lot of problems with the way they built it because artists are getting paid per stream, and that's at a fraction of a penny. And then you incentivize these people to basically run up their streams. So you see all these independent artists last week get their music taken down because they're paying to get playlisted or paying uh, spam bots to listen to their stuff, or they're making their little brother play their song on Spotify and repeat, and then now their music's being taken down, and it's an unfortunate thing. But you also built the game to be played that way, to the point where artists are making 2-minute songs and not 3 or 4 minute songs.
Mm.
So I want to change the culture of it. It's just hard coming with a proper way to distribute the funds,
Yeah, no,
because
it's
people are willing to pay for it. It's just you got to make it worth it.
yeah, no, it's a
And
tough battle to fight.
yeah, and it's one of those things. It's just like, yeah, I'm a platform that doesn't pay artists, but I'm also not making money. So how do I change both of those situations for both of us? Because I would love money, and I'd love to see my artists or the artists that I represent have money too. Um, and I honestly want to see the labels get paid too, but they can't be greedy. They can't abuse people this way, and it's frustrating. And I'm thinking about it every day. Honestly, I just need more resources, more connections, and smarter people around me.
Yeah, no, the Startland article also mentioned that you had been like trying to set up a collaboration with Tidal, like you were in contact with people there. What was that supposed to look like? It said that fell through.
Yeah, so it was basically a small affiliate link deal, but basically the idea is I have all the free music, you have all the paid music,
Yeah.
and I wanted to set up the database where any song or any album that comes through in the hip hop category will get placed under Mixtape Monkey, and a user could listen to it or whatever it was, but it would take him back to Tidal, and they would pay for it. And they are the company that pays artists the most. I think them or Napster, but way more than Spotify for sure.
Yeah.
So you support this company, they pay the artist, it works. And if you want something that's more obscure, you go through me. And I wanted to build that fork in the road. So if you are looking up Drake and then you find his room for approving a mixtape, you download it and you're like, oh, I want to listen to Views.
Yeah.
You can still do that, but the artist gets paid at the end of the day. But that deal died in its infancy, unfortunately.
Sorry to hear that.
That was a COVID thing. I don't blame anyone over at Tidal. They've been really cool with me. But yeah, they had to do a lot of furloughing and laying people off due to the pandemic. So hopefully they can rebuild up. Maybe Jack Dorsey buys them. Maybe we can reconfigure, and do something that's really more impactful for artists. Because for an artist to do a certain amount of numbers and not be able to pay their light bill is bothersome.
Yeah.
Especially in this time where they can't do the shows.
Yeah.
And they can't, and it's harder to sell merch because, you know, some people are impulse buyers and they'll buy it when they see you do a good performance.
Yeah.
And they don't get to see that. So now I'm being harassed by a bunch of artists that want to sell me their t-shirts, but I don't know anything about them. And we don't get that connection, and it's rough. It's bad all around. So if we can just re-strategize on how we do this, it'd be important.
Yeah, no, and it is frustrating to watch. Like, you know, it's kind of like, I think in America, but also pretty much worldwide, like we've kind of been on the course of like homogenizing and mainstreaming like the music industry into just, you know, these huge companies that basically have monopolies on, you know, the rights to all the most popular music. But I think the pandemic really just like packed a huge punch in, like, yeah, just knocking down anyone trying to do it independently. And I think the music industry and musicians, you know, the actual artists and contractors are like really going to be grappling with this for a very long time and trying to rebuild from it.
Yeah. So
things are bad. It's no good.
Things are bad for sure. So to any of the listeners that are still listening to me ramble on, pay the artists, subscribe to them.
Yes.
Like them, follow them on YouTube, do anything that will help them get that edge, because seeing your local artists get 20, 50,000 streams in a year might seem like a win for them, but they got paid $140 for that, maybe. Yeah. And we have to change that.
Things are bad. It's not good. We don't like it. But what can people look forward to? Like, are you are you launching any like new features, or you kind of you're I'm sure you're mostly just trying to push Tape Eater right now and get more people to know about that?
Pushing Tape Eater. I want to get the Android version out. I also want to add some integration to make it a little easier for people to download mixtapes on there. If any of the mixtape websites will answer my emails. But yeah, it's just doing that for now. And basically the plan is to get these numbers up, run the numbers up, and I want to put myself in a position, at least in the music industry, where the projects that I do are considered beneficial to music and artists as a whole. And put myself in a position to where I can raise real capital. As an entrepreneur, it's really hard for me to raise funds, even for this Tape Eater app. Basically, couldn't raise any funds. And if I was a more respectable person in the industry, or a more less obscure person in the industry, I can hit up a couple people and be like, "Hey, we need to raise $20 to $50 million to build a platform that actually pays people, that actually respects artists, that actually does this and that, or whatever it is, and build that platform." Because it's not something that I can do in my lifetime by myself with my limited knowledge and my limited connections and my limited resources. You know?
Yep.
So it's trying to catapult myself into that position.
Yep.
So yeah, download the app, subscribe, all that stuff.
No, yeah. Where can people like you have mixtapemonkey.com. Where can people find you on social media and also download the apps?
Yeah, so you can find me on social media at markserranopro.com if you want any of my personal accounts. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Mixtape Monkey if you're want to talk more music or submit your music or just listen to things. Mixtapemonkey.com to download mixtapes. Tapeeater.com if you want to learn more about the app. And Tape Eater on the iOS App Store if you want to download and build that collection of yours up.
Awesome. Yeah, and people can follow at Shuttlecock Mag on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Shuttlecockmusic.com is the website. Shuttlecockmag.bigcartel.com is the web store. We have t-shirts, photo zines, buttons, and soda podcast prints. Make sure you subscribe wherever you watch or listen: YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. But yeah, I appreciate you being on the show. I feel like I learned a lot.
Thanks.
I'd only really bumped into you a couple times, and glad I was able to sit down.
I know talk. I'm quiet and reserved in public. But I'm thinking 20 thoughts at the same time, and it looks like I'm mean mugging people, but I'm not. I'm just really deep in thought.
Oh no, I didn't feel offended at all.
Okay, a lot of people are like, "You're really intimidating in person." I'm like, I'm thinking so many things right now, and you just have to have that conversation. I'll just sit there and just divulge all of my information to you if you need it.
Everyone, Mark is really friendly. Say hi after the pandemic. Yeah. It's great. But yeah, no, thank you again for being on the show today. I'm going to stop the recording now.
All right. Thank you.